Welcome to this episode of Sitecore in 300 Seconds Plus. My name is Robin. I work as a solution engineer here at Sitecore. In this episode, I'm going to provide some deeper insights into Sitecore's product content marketing solution and showcase how it works. If you're interested in a shorter overview, please watch my 300 Seconds episode. Enjoy! Jumping into today's presentation, we have 5 key topics to cover to help you understand the value of Sitecore's PCM. Starting at the top, we will discuss how PCM can enable the management of assets and product information all in a single place, followed by a look at how the solution can enable the marketing team to turn technical products into customer-centric ones through simplified enrichment workflows. We'll explore how PCM can extend products to store and manage all important information. We'll then look at how collaboration is a key pillar in Sitecore's PCM solution and how it can help streamline internal processes. Lastly, we'll talk briefly about how Sitecore's PCM allows for multi-channel publishing. Let's jump into assets and information at the top. Assets and information is the core of Sitecore PCM, as they are the core to most businesses we work with. Today, we'll look at how the solution enables great searchability, easy to configure filters, and intuitive navigation across the entire platform. As a quick overview, Sitecore PCM provides an interface to search through and then visualize products from the whole organization. These products can then be edited and published as needed. In the first demonstration of today, we'll see how easy it can be to find out all we need for a product in the system. As we jump into our first demonstration of today's session, we are looking at product search. With product search, we can easily find all the things we're looking for related to our products in our content. In Sitecore Content Hub, this is easy to do. On the top left, we can see a products label here. Pressing that allows us to navigate into our products landing page. From here, we have a list of every product in our system. We can easily search and navigate through all of them. For our particular demo, I wanted to look at some of the fridges that we have in our product listings. So if I type fridge in our search bar, it'll result in all of the fridges that we have to appear in the system. From here, I can use the robust filter systems or facets to quickly navigate and narrow down further the specific types of fridges I might be looking for. In this case, I might, for example, only be looking for things that are in my particular region, as well as other things like potentially the brand that might be different. Once I've filtered down all of the different products that we have in the system, I can then go into the specific product that I'm looking for information on. In this case, we're going to be looking at the Lighthouse Viva 32 cubic foot side-by-side refrigerator with a clear view door. We can see here it has some information about that particular product, but if we go ahead and click on that product itself, we'll be taken to that product detail page, which will show us far more. Once in here, we can quickly see that Content Hub can be used to facilitate a lot of different information, usually from downstream channels such as PIMs, or it can be used to actually house and maintain and create that data all on its own. In here, we can store things like our names, our long descriptions. We can even link it to things like product families. All of the data in here can be modeled, and we shall talk about that as we get further on in today's presentation. We can also see that quickly we're able to find assets related to this particular product, as well as any content or comments about that as well. On the right, we can see some workflows that we'll look at later, all kept neatly in a single place. To quickly recap, we saw how easy it can be to find products we are looking for, filter down results with highly relevant filters, and visualize all the product information and associated assets in a single view. Now that we know how easy it is to search for products, let's have a look at how easy it is to edit them. With PCM, we can easily create and edit products with a configurable form. These forms can be combined with mandatory fields to ensure all the essential data is present. We can enrich our products with multimedia and related product documentation. And one of the best things about Sitecore's PCM is that if a product is created as part of a product family or brand, it will inherit all that information with no manual effort. Here we can see an example of one of the forms. In the second demonstration of this session, we'll look at just how easy it can be to edit and enrich product data in PCM. As we jump into our product enrichment demonstration, the first thing I want to showcase is how easy it can be to create products inside of Sitecore Content Hub. We see the Add button at the top right of our interface here. Pressing that provides us with our options. We can either create a single product with a form, or we can import a CSV if we have multiple that we'd like to add quickly. In this case, we'll create a product from scratch using the form interface. We have a few fields here, but noticeably, the name field here has an asterisk. This showcases that it's a mandatory field. In Sitecore Content Hub, we can actually create any of these fields as mandatory to ensure that the right data is added at every stage of the journey. In this particular demonstration, we'll be talking about a basketball, so we'll call it a basketball demo. We can add things like a product number, as well as link it to other entities in the system. In this case, we're looking at the basketball product family which it belongs to. We know it doesn't have a flavor as it's not a food, and we haven't quite figured out the slogan yet, which we'll do later on in our journey. We now also can add it into other taxonomies, such as the type of sport it belongs to if we have multiple different items that belong to that same category. And once we're happy with that, we can go ahead and hit save, and it's going to create our product for us in the system. We can see at the top here, our product is now created. It's got the status of created, showcasing that it hasn't been pushed through a workflow, as well as we can see here it's still missing some key information to make it complete. We know one of those at least is a picture, so let's jump into it and have a look. As we have a look here, we can see that, again, no cover photo, and the image, all the data we have in here is not quite as robust as we might want it to be for our final product. Now, as we go through the journey of enriching this particular product, we can do so through multiple iterations and editing it as simple as pressing the little pencil icon, and then we have all of our fields available to edit again. With Sitecore PCM, we can also create other types of fields and other categories like commercial information, as well as things like packaging or our product specifications we might want to add. These can be adjusted and can be done so without having to put in a line of code, which we'll look at later in today's demonstration. Now, as far as assets are concerned, we can see that it's empty. But knowing that Content Hub is more than just a product content management system, we can then go and add some from our digital asset management system. We can upload these directly into our product, or we can add some existing ones. So in this case, we know we're looking for a photo of some balls, specifically basketballs. So we can select the 3 different images we might want to add as part of this particular product, and we can add those very easily. Once in here, we need one of them to be our hero asset. So selecting maybe a bit more of a dramatic shot here, we can set that as the cover image. Now, the last piece that makes Content Hub really useful is that when items like these photos are added to the product, they actually inherit the fact that they are now attached to this product, and they have all the data that's associated with that. So if we now click into our basketball here, for example, we can see that as we land on a photo, we actually can see all the products that are attached to it. So if a user is just looking for a photo of a basketball, they can search for that, and when they go to inspect it, they can then follow that through very easily to all of the products that are attached, just through clicking that attached link. This keeps everything in Content Hub connected and easily accessible for users in the system. Hopefully, that highlighted to you why information management is such a powerful component of Sitecore's PCM. Before we jump into the next section, let's just review what we've seen so far. Firstly, with simple adjustable forms, users can create and manage products with minimal training. The consistency of these products can then be ensured through the use of mandatory fields. We all know that customers tend to buy things that are visually appealing. That is why Sitecore PCM solution is designed to provide a single view of products along with their assets. Lastly, with data being inherited automatically, there is less work for marketers and more time for marketing. As we move into the product modeling, there are three key things to consider. Firstly, Sitecore PCM is built to ensure that it can grow and adapt alongside its users. This is why it allows for changes to the product data structure without the need for code. Additionally, each user group will care about different parts of the product data. With Sitecore PCM, it is easy to change what data is shown and who it is shown to. The last thing we'll discuss in regards to product modeling is the relationships between products. Most organizations I work with struggle to find good ways to manage product variations or the relationships between products and the add-ons that go alongside them. With Sitecore PCM, all of those crucial relationships can be easily built and allow users to navigate through all of that complexity with ease. The easiest way to showcase this is in the platform itself, so let's see it in action. One of the things that makes Sitecore's product content management system unique is the ability to do data modeling directly in the system. As we understand, a product is just a series of fields connected to some images that all come together to present the final product that can be bought by customers online. And it's important for us to understand this so that we can use Sitecore's PCM to build on this and actually create all of the different product models we need to ensure we have a system built for the products that we use internally. Now, before we jump into some of the details, I want you to keep in mind a few things. Firstly, the fact that we have a few sections here, which is our main, commercial, packaging, and product specifications. Next, we know that there are some different types of data fields. We have simple strings, we have some numbers, as well as these fields that are links to other parts of the system. And keeping that in mind, we'll have a look at how these are created and how we can actually add additional fields to help us enrich our products. As we jump to the next part of the system, I've actually navigated us to what we call the schema of the product in the system. This is where we can start to actually create new models of data. And in this case, we've got our product data on the top left here, and we can see all of the different types of data that we store. You'll notice immediately that a few of the ones we can see here are things like packaging, commercial, product specifications, and the main one that we saw inside of the product detail page. Now, each of these different categories house their own types of information. In this case, if we look at the main here, we can see all of those different fields that we looked at earlier. If I wanted to, example, create a new field inside of the main area of our products, I can go here and press New. From here, I can add a new property, relationship, or connect it to a taxonomy. Now, a property is things like our strings, our booleans, integers, any type of data we really want to store, as well as option lists, which can be a list of different entities in the system. Maybe it's a list of colors that you have that you want to choose from, or a list of sports that you might want to connect it to. Now, we also have other types. For example, we have the relationships. Now, this is a very powerful tool, and that's where we can start to actually link our entity to other entities. So that's where we can say that our product is actually related to some of the images it's attached to, or our product is related to the product family it belongs to. We can even extend this to say that a product is related to an add-on that we might want to model out in the system. It is as flexible as you need it to be and provides you all the tools necessary to really build out your product models easily inside of Content Hub. And taxonomies, as you might be aware, these can be things that have sort of a multi-tier data structures where we can have a type that's connected to other types that's then branches out into even more pieces of data. We can build out as many taxonomies as we need inside of Content Hub and relate those directly to our entities and our data structures as well. Once we do have our product data or any other data ready to go and we've modeled it all out, we can then go ahead and actually display it on our pages and change the different fields that are available. As we jump into the pages part of Sitecore PCM, we can start to see a little bit about how this is all laid out. This is the building blocks that make up that experience that we've been looking at, the product landing page. As we scroll down, we can start to see a few things that might resemble what's available in our page itself. If we look here on the left, we have our entity image viewer, a few tabs, as well as some details. And if we jump into our product again, we can see that that's exactly what we have. We have our image on the left, then we have our tabs in the middle, as well as our different fields on the right here. Now, let's say that I want to change some information that's being displayed in one of our tabs. I can go in and see all of the different tabs that have been created, create new ones, but in this case, I'm specifically interested in our details page, which is the first one we looked at there. We can see here all of that data that we looked at in the schema available to use inside of this particular detail page. And we can see that it's a simple matter of allowing or disallowing them to be visible inside of that experience. So as we looked at, maybe we've stopped wanting flavor to show up as an option inside of our product detail page. We can go ahead and switch that off in the system, and it won't delete it, and the data is still stored here, but for most people visiting that page, they won't be able to see it anymore. We can also see that we have the ability to switch off whether a field is editable or not. In this case, things like the name, as it's mandatory, we might just want it to be set once. Others, like the number, maybe we don't want it editable at all. Maybe that's coming from an integration into another system. We can very quickly handle all of that in the system and hit save. Additionally, it's very easy for us to actually start to work on how things are being outputted into the system. So how our different entities are viewed. And as we go into the asset page, we can see we have a few different building blocks, including our asset search, which is how we're actually surfacing up all of our different images here, as this basketball shows, for example. If we go back to our search component, we can see how exactly this is outputting to the screen. We have a whole lot of different options on how we'd like to display it, whether we want this little grid to show up, whether we want more of a list, which is very typical of our product search page that we've looked at again in today's demo. And we can start to add things like what we want to do if we click the image in it, what different fields we might want to show, whether that's the description of that particular asset or any other bits and pieces. Content Hub really provides us a lot of flexibility to really build the interface that matches the business's needs, as well as the information presented by the business. Jumping back into the value of product modeling in Sitecore PCM, we saw how new fields are simple to add for users of any level, allowing the solution to keep up with the fast-moving businesses. Then, we looked at how the interface in Sitecore PCM was built to adapt to each user group in the solution, with a UI that had the flexibility to show only what was needed at any given time. Lastly, we explored the tools available within Sitecore PCM to model the more complex relationships within the product organizations, and how the solution allowed businesses to create product variations and associate product add-ons with the click of a button. All that we have discussed today is vital to producing excellent product content, but as we all know, no great product is built without the support of the many teams that are involved in getting it out the door. This is why Sitecore PCM brings collaboration into the view of the products to centralize and streamline the processes around product production. It begins by providing state-based workflow tools that can be modeled to fit your business processes. It complements this with comments, annotation, and field version history to keep the conversation going, and allows further automation by encouraging integrations in the tools you use every day to make sure that everyone can stay on top of the projects they're involved in. This next demonstration will explore each of these key components of collaboration in the platform and show you how they can simplify your processes. As we start talking about collaboration in Sitecore PCM, there's a few things we need to get through. First of all is having a look at what these workflows actually look like in action. If we jump into our demo basketball that we made earlier, we can see immediately that the product status is created. And this is actually controlled by a workflow we have in place on all of our products. As we jump into this, we can get a bit more of a glance at it that you might have seen earlier that we talked about. And that's sitting here to the right in our product workflow section. We can see that this particular product has 5 stages: a draft, an enrichment stage, a stage for validation, an approval phase, and then once it's all done, removed from the website, we have our archival phase. Each of these phases can be clicked on and expanded, including some data, as well as people that are assigned to each of these stages, or user groups that are responsible for actually getting it through each of these stages. If we go and say that this is now a drafted product, we can move this on to the enrichment stage. And we can do that simply by pressing the button that's available for us here. Once pressed, we can see it move down to that next stage. We can also see those new people actually able to work on this particular product. This can be done so that only the people in the groups that are actually assigned at every one of these stages can edit data on these products as well. As we look over to submitting that for validation, we can move it through, and then finally we can start to press the approve product button if we're happy with it, or we can move it back through the process if we're not. But assuming that we're ready for this basketball to hit the product pages and custom websites, we can see now that this is actually in the approved stage. We can see other buttons start to appear, like Publish to AutoCloud, which is our e-commerce solution. And this can be a point where we can start to talk about integration, which we'll mention as the last part of today's presentation. Now, the thing about Content Hub is that these workflows are actually very easy to create. As we jump into the state flows part of the system, which is where we can build these workflows, we can see a few of the ones that are already in the system. Things like an ideation workflow, things like a photo review workflow, packaging artwork, or in this case, we have our product workflow that we just walked through. If I go and click on this particular product workflow, we can start to see some of those details and how it's actually being created. Now, the way it works is it's all based on states. So we have these 5 different states here, which all have their own transitions. So the first is our draft stage, which is going from submit for enrichment to the enrichment phase. And if we click in on that, we can actually see how that's built out. We have a few options here, including the name, description, how we want to actually assign the different users, and the users that we want to assign. We can also do dynamic assigning. So if we wanted it to be the person who created that particular product or the person who last modified it, and we can go through and actually create those product statuses. So in this case, it is in the created status, which is what we saw in the product listing in the product search page. All of the rest of these can be built in much the same way, where we can build those out and make those changes and the transitions responsible. And as we go into our validation step here, we can see we have the ability to edit those transitions. This being the most complex, as we have the ability to approve the product, making it approved, or we can actually send that back through the product workflow to enrichment, giving us a lot of flexibility in how we actually want to build these. And as we look back into our state flows, we have a lot of flexibility in exactly how many we want to create, as there is no limit. And we can have a state flow based on things like the different types of products, the different product families, different product categories, even the different teams responsible for them. And those can all be automatically assigned using some of our business logic that sits in our trigger and scripting framework. All that in mind, there are a few other ways that we are able to do collaboration using Sitecore PCM. Heading back to our product page, we can also see that we have the ability to create comments. This is where we can actually start to write and communicate with everybody directly at the product level. We really wanted to give the tools so that you never have to worry about an email chain that's too long to really focus on, or Slack messages or Teams messages that ping all around the place. We wanted things to be centralized. That being said, Content Hub can definitely integrate into those platforms and make it easy as well to communicate the way you want to in the system. As we move through to the next stage, we also wanted to talk briefly about things like annotations. If there is things like a document or an asset that you want to talk to or communicate about, we have the ability to do comments on those assets directly as well. But we also have an additional feature on our assets, which allows us to do direct annotation on those assets. So if you're doing product posters, or if you're doing any sort of product detail pages, we can quickly come in here and we can start to isolate specific things you want to collaborate on and make that very clear inside of the system. Hopefully that provided you with an insight into some of what is possible regarding collaboration in Sitecore PCM. As a quick summary, we saw how state-based workflows show a clear and easy to follow process across the product lifecycle. Comments could then be used to further improve collaboration through direct communication between team members and other teams in the business. The last element we discussed was automation, as we discussed how Sitecore PCM allows for strong integration into downstream channels, which we'll talk about in more detail in the next section, as well as business systems such as Teams or Slack for robust communication. We've done it. We got our products ingested. We edited them to make sure they would be easy to understand and stand out to our users. We worked with our teams to enrich them with assets, and now they are ready to be shipped out the door. This is great news. Sitecore PCM is here to make sure that sharing all your hard work to your downstream channels is as easy as possible. This is why, once created and approved, content can be published to any required downstream channels. This allows users to manage all content in one central location. Sitecore PCM offers two unique methods to push content to all the relevant channels. The first of these is using traditional REST APIs to push data to any of the required channels. Alternatively, Sitecore PCM now supports GraphQL, making it a clear choice for any headless solutions and for those organizations putting together a combination of best-of-breed solutions for their digital technology stack. Regardless of which of these methods work for you, the results are the same. Approve once and publish anywhere, like social media, email, e-commerce, and/or other web channels. Thank you for watching this episode of Sitecore in 300 Seconds Plus. I hope this has given you insights into how Sitecore PCM works and what benefits it can bring to your business. If you would like to have a chat, please email me at robin.foster@sitecore.net.